Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 510 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles, joined, as always, by my co-host, who's getting some renovation done in Madison, Wisconsin, but not really. It's like
I don't live in Madison, Wisconsin, Christian.
I said, but not really. You know,
Get my hometown right.
I just say Milwaukee, even though I know it's not called Milwaukee.
I'm not Milwaukee either. Put some respect on Delafield.
Delafield, isn't that a Milwaukee suburb? Or no?
Sure, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
It's a Milwaukee suburb.
You're in the burbs. It's the Pflugerville of Milwaukee, they call it.
What's that a reference to? I don't know.
I live in Pflugerville, Texas, which is a
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's very near Austin. This is a Hutto man right here.
Yeah.
This guy lives in Hutto, and this place is obsessed with hippopotamuses because they're the Hutto hippos.
Yeah.
So you drive around this town, and everyone has these
Like a concrete hippo.
giant concrete hippos in their yards.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's
That's
a little
weird.
strange. It's a little bit of a cult thing, and
That's very cultish.
yeah, David moving there was definitely an alarming choice.
I've learned a lot. It's expanded my mind to the hippo way of life, and
Yeah, they just lean into the hippo thing. Okay, it's Penn State Day, and I thought it would be a really fun time for a really difficult debate, something that I watched David Bray, when I told him we were going to do this on the show, I watched him deliberate and groan and get so nervous about having to reveal the top 5 Penn State wrestlers of all time. Now, getting the top 5 is easy, in my opinion. The order is so difficult. And I went...
The order's open to interpretation, Christian. Is there really a right answer? Because I don't think there's really a right answer.
It'll probably be mine, but maybe not.
You know who has the real answer?
Kale Sanderson.
And who would never give it to us.
You would never give it to us.
Ever.
It honestly totally depends on how you prioritize what makes a wrestler great or the best or the better. Because if you look at most wins or best wins, like the best quality of competition, it's one guy. If you look at the most dominant, it's another guy. If you look at like aesthetics, it may be someone completely different.
So how do you think Kale would do it? I mean, because he obviously could see them in the room and everything. So it'd be really interesting to hear what he had to say. It's really unfortunate we're not going to get to hear his perspective on this one because he is probably the man who has the best answer to this question, and we will never get it.
Yeah, I don't know how he would define it. Would he just bottom line say it's based on the accomplishments? What tournaments did you win? And how many times did you do it?
I feel like that is kind of a murky area. I mean, if you want just straight accomplishments, it's Zane because 3 NCAA titles and 2 Hodge trophies. Mm-hmm. But then are we going just college stuff, or do we count David Taylor's world title, for example? Because when you say best 5, I think college stuff is what I think.
Yes. So that's all I've looked at is their college careers, right?
Okay.
Because for a couple reasons. One, it's just a lot simpler. 2, someone like Zane and Bo and even Nolf, they haven't got to realize their freestyle full potential, right? And David Taylor has been able to because he's been out of college a little longer.
Yeah,
even though
I don't wrestle for a few years.
Yeah, but I will say I don't see any of those guys. I'll say it. I don't see any of those guys reaching David Taylor's freestyle accomplishments. I don't see a senior level world champion for any of those guys outside of DT personally.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so we know Nichols not in it for the long term, right? We know he's gone to fighting relatively soon. Ruth obviously left to fighting, so then it leaves just Nolt or Rutherford. Rutherford has not had that level of success, and then Nolt would have to get through Daker Burrows, which he hasn't seemed to be able to do it to this point.
Right. I mean, and Imar, and
did you see Imar's Twitter yesterday?
No.
Instagram?
What'd he do?
It looks like he had labrum surgery, Christian.
Oh no! What?
I mean, that's like a 6-month. Well, he had where it attaches to the body in like 2 places. Yeah, maybe I'll pull up Imar's Twitter, or maybe it was his Instagram.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He said he was going to have that surgery. He told us on the Bader show that he was going to have that surgery and be out for think 5 months, 6 months.
Oh,
Yeah.
that hurts on multiple levels.
I mean,
right?
I don't know why this did. It's June. Corona happened. You should have went in there and got the doctors to cut you during the beginning of Corona, and then you save a couple months.
Yeah.
Now he's back in January, which isn't the end of the world, but if he was back in like October, November, it would be much more ideal.
Yeah, if he could have knocked that out in April, that'd have been beneficial. So too bad. That stinks because Imar's such an interesting cog in this 74 kilogram story that is still being written. And he's a part of this Penn State story too, right? He's connected to Jason Nolf, who's on this list, and Chinzo, who's actually outside the top 5. So I think we have to first all agree on the top 5 are, in some order, Jason Nolf, Bo Nickel, Zane Rutherford, Ed Ruth, and David Taylor. And I don't think there's a case for anyone to be off that list and add anyone else on. Do you agree?
Agreed.
Yep.
But you know what is sort of interesting? If Chinzo had won his 3rd title and went 1-1-2-1, him being off the list is so crazy. A 3-time champ, 4-time finalist is close to a
I still think he's off the list, though.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, okay.
But that's just crazy how exclusive this list is. Now, so how do we want to do this? How do we want to break it down? Because I have
There's not a good way, Christian. There's not a good way. You just got to shoot darts at the wall. Pick your poison.
All right. So here's what I did. I'll give you my rundown.
Okay.
I came up with a few criteria that I find to be the most valuable. Okay. I did best wins, worst, like most acceptable losses, most bonus rate, win percentage. Then there's one that's totally my opinion, which is like fun to watch, aesthetics. How much did I enjoy?
Come on, that doesn't count.
It does. Yeah, it does for me.
Category.
Who do I enjoy? Yeah, it does. And actually,
it's real to me.
And actually, since you say that, I have. So what I did is I should just share this with Kyle Grover, and he can pull this up. No, except it would reveal everything. I'll reveal it at the end. But I have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 criteria, and I ranked them all 1 through 5, and whoever has the lowest score was my winner, right?
Whoa, you went serious, Christian. I did not.
Well, because I was looking at this list, and I'll give the rundown here. So Ed Ruth, 143. He had a 77% bonus rate, 75 early match terminations. His best wins were Gabe Dean, Steve Bozak, Nick Amujastegi, Mac Lunas, Robert Hamlin, Jimmy Sheptock. Okay. Jason Nolf, 118-3.
Yep.
88% bonus point rate. 88.
Can I see a spreadsheet? You need to send me a spreadsheet of this because I can't memorize it all. You got this on a spreadsheet, Christian?
I'll screenshot.
You do.
This
oh my gosh, you do.
I'll screenshot this to you.
You really do have it on a spreadsheet. I was messing with you.
Yeah, here it is. What do you think? I'm just like, I don't have these guys' stats memorized.
Oh, this isn't a spreadsheet. This is okay. Well, see, I'm picturing you have the names over here, the categories over here, and then you got a spreadsheet and you got highlighted everything.
Well, I do have a spreadsheet, but that's how I determined the rankings. So,
okay.
Zane, 128-4, 73% bonus rate with 76 total early match terminations. Nickel, 120-3. 78% bonus rate, 71 early terminations. David Taylor, 134-3, 91% bonus rate, 53 pins, 42 techs for a total of 95 early match terminations. Okay.
Okay. You know the one factor, Christian, that is going to be a really big one in my mind, and I don't know how I'm going to count it, is the only person on this list who did not redshirt his freshman year was Zane Rutherford.
Yes.
All 4 of his losses came that year, and I got to assume his bonus was really low.
39%.
That year.
39% as a freshman.
Yep.
Oof.
Yep.
So so the last 3 years of Zane looked 100 and 0 and 90% bonus.
He was 88.57, 89.29, 83.87 those last 3 years.
So close to 90. And like 100 now. Oh my God. That's so good.
Yeah. So,
wow.
And that is one thing that I think it all evens out eventually, right? Because while he has that, he's got the advantage of he's got the 2 Hodges, so that kind of negates a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So it gets really tough.
I'm saying, well, Christian, I was saying that's kind of a good thing for him. I mean, if you honestly look at, and this is one fascinating thing about what Kale's done is, okay, look at Jason Nolf, David Taylor, and Bo Nichols' redshirt year. They all lost matches. They all were not perfect, and they all got so much better in that following year.
Yes.
So that's like huge.
I agree. Okay, why don't you guys let's go. Why don't we start with our number 5? Ben, who's the number 5 greatest Penn State wrestler of all time?
Number 5 greatest Penn State wrestler of all time. Oh, it's so challenging. This is really painful for me to say. I'm gonna say Jason Nolf.
Okay.
That hurt. That like hurts. I don't know why that hurts, but it hurts.
Because someone has to be 5th, and it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, someone's gonna be 5th.
David, Dylan, Duncan, Bray.
Well, I'm glad we can spread out the pain a little bit. And I can't believe this is the worst. The worst one is number 5. I've got Ed Ruth at number 5.
Okay, y'all are really gonna hate mine, but based on my criteria,
it's neither one of those guys.
Nope. Number 5.
Wow. Okay.
A 2-time Hodge Trophy winner, Zane Rutherford.
What? Oh no!
You're on drugs. You're on drugs.
Get out of here.
Beat it.
Okay.
No, there's no explanation. You're fired. Get him out of Flow's headquarters. Sion! Sion
doesn't listen that far out. All right, listen.
No, Sion's going to come in
when I sat down this morning, when I sat down this morning, I said, this is going to be between David Taylor and Zane Rutherford. I'm certain of it. And then I looked at this, and I was really having a really hard time discerning how I was going to do this. So then I was like, you know what? I'll do it like this. I'll the best wins and the worst losses, most early terminations, because I really value that, bonus rate, win percentage, and fun to watch. So what hurts Zane is the fun to watch factor. I didn't find him as aesthetically pleasing as the other guys.
Oh, I'm sorry that we can't please you, Christian Pyle.
No, it's not that I'm not pleased. No. It's not that I'm not pleased. It's I'm less pleased. It's just I don't enjoy it as much. His wins, he had in my opinion, the 4th highest quality wins.
He had the single best win of anybody on this list.
He has the one, and it was negated twice by Logan. And then beyond that.
But it was the year he should have wrestled. It was the year he should. Kale was selfish. Kale didn't want Zane to be the best Penn State guy of all time, and he started him. He should have redshirted him.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, listen. Kale maybe was looking out for his own undefeated record because
stop.
If he,
that's insane.
No,
if he was really looking out for his record, he would stop recruiting really good guys.
Okay, obviously I'm being facetious, right?
I know,
but in a little bit of it. Someone could totally take that out of context, and it would be very hilarious if they showed that to Kale because he would get so mad at me. If he doesn't redshirt Zane, tell me Zane loses because Zane doesn't lose in the 149-pound bracket in 2015. He just doesn't lose.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hypotheticals you could run through, right?
Great. I'm not running through a lot of them, Christian. I'm running through that one. Does he lose? Yes or no?
No, I don't think he loses.
Okay, we just crowned Zane the second ever undefeated NCAA wrestler.
But he's not. And so...
Oh, rude.
Well, he's not. Because he's not a 4-time undefeated champ. What do you want me to say? He isn't. So his bonus rate was actually the lowest of all the guys.
Because of that year.
Yeah.
Take that year away.
Because of a year he wrestled, a year that we are considering, yes.
I'm offended.
Well, okay. Well, here's what you can't do. You can't just say because this happened after the red shirt that you're just saying, you're just literally speaking into existence what you think would have happened, and then you're making what you think would have happened the reality. I chose not to do that. You chose to do it your way, but mine, I said I'm going to root this in as much reality as possible, and of the 5 criteria, only one of them is even subjective at all. Everything else is rooted in facts.
Well, isn't the best wins?
Well, yeah, that's somewhat subjective.
A little bit subjective too. I mean, because for me, like when I saw Zayn, he of all these guys, he has the best win. He had the 4-time NCAA champ Logan Stieber, and he beat him. I mean, that is the best win of anybody on this list.
Right, but then he lost to him twice after, which no shame in that. It's Logan Stieber, for crying out loud. But he also lost to Mitchell Port that year, which I know there's no shame in that, but it happened.
Who's his 4th one?
He lost to Stieber 3 times, right? Didn't he lose to him
once
early?
Twice.
No, just Big Tens.
No, Big Tens and NCAAs. Who's still the loss? Are you misrecording facts on here, Christian?
He lost to Logan at the Night Point Open.
This is wrong. That's wrong.
That's what this says. In
WrestleStat's wrong. He only has 3 losses.
Oh.
Yeah, he only has, what the hell is the Night Point Open?
I don't know, but he did not lose to Logan Stieber 7-3 there.
Yeah.
The Knife Point Open would be a cooler name.
Yeah, Knife Point.
That'd be cool.
Way more exciting. He can go there. Okay, so that throws off the statistics a little bit. But you know what? It's a Quake take. And you just have to live with it. No, don't pull this up. Get rid of that, Kyle.
Do it, Kyle. Do it.
No, he has my sheet pulled up. It's no good.
I love it.
All right.
It shows how nerdy you are. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You got to embrace it, Christian. You make spreadsheets. You got to embrace your spreadsheets.
I'm embracing it, but I don't want to reveal it yet. I don't want you guys to see my moves. Okay, let's go number 4, Ben Askren.
Well, I started last time, so we should go the opposite order. So Bray should go first, then you, then
or
me.
I should go first, I guess.
Okay.
My number 4 is Bo Nickel.
Really? Interesting.
Now, he has, in my opinion, Bo Nickel has the best wins of any of these guys. He beat Gabe Dean, Miles Martin, Drew Foster, Colin Moore. For my money, that's 4 NCAA champions. Okay, you can throw Colin Moore, say he wasn't an NCAA champion. Okay, maybe that's me saying, but I kind of count it because who's beating that guy this year? So I think when you consider that, those are the best wins. And when he beat Gabe Dean, and that puts him ahead of like Ed Ruth is probably the guy for me. I went with how many really elite guys did you beat? Whereas Zayn, and you know what, you can't control your schedule or how good your weight classes are, but if your weight classes are tougher, maybe your bonus rate goes down. Maybe you don't have I don't know. Well,
the other part of it, Christian, you're kind of discounting here is, DT moved weights his sophomore and junior year. Nickel moved weights 3 times.
Yeah.
And obviously, Ed moved after sophomore year. So, Zayn moved after that redshirt year. The more years when you can change late in your career and you're already really, really, really high level, you're obviously going to beat more guys because you're going to be able to beat the guys at this weight and beat the guys at this weight. As opposed to, you just can't, sometimes you can't help the fact that you didn't grow because you're going to beat both guys no matter what.
Right.
Right? So when you leave that prior weight class, those guys are then going to win that weight class, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think we can't overcredit that just because guys grew. I mean, Bo would be the most obvious one because he went through 3 separate weight classes.
Right. Well, he beat 3 NCAA champions at 184, Gabe, Miles, and Drew. And so you can throw out Colin Moore and the fact that, but he never won 174, and he beat Miles at 184 as well as 174.
Yeah.
And, Drew Foster, if you want to say, okay, well, he didn't beat the NCAA champion level, Drew Foster. Okay, you can say that, but the guy's still an NCAA champion. That has a lot of value to me. So he's got what hurts Bo in this was the most early termination rate. He was actually the 5th. He had the 5th most.
I was kind of shocked by that.
I was too.
Yeah.
Lot of majors and decisions. He had 59 falls and 12 techs, which I didn't. Still a lot of pins, but it put him behind a lot of those guys, so that didn't help. And I don't know, man. I had him as for aesthetics. He was my number 4, out of 5.
Really, aesthetic. He was so British is just the least of what's aesthetically pleasing to Christian Biles.
Well, that is
your number 5.
That is a criteria. You could almost throw, and maybe I should have thrown win percentage out because the margin,
they're all the same.
Well,
basically
they are. But the thing that's interesting is that over the course of Cale's coaching career, his athletes have had fewer matches per season. So David and Ed have like significantly more matches than the other guys. Ed has 140 wins. David has 134. And then next Zane's 128. And then it kind of goes down from there. Nickel has 120 and Nolf has 118. Yeah. So that was interesting to me, just as a little bit of maybe a trend about how Cale's coaching approach has changed.
I kind of want to throw out win percentage now. Because they were all like 96 or 97%.
Yeah, they all have 3 losses. Every one of them has 3 losses, and then so it's pretty much just like, did they get to go beat up on more bums at open tournaments or not?
Yeah, you value that.
Hey, did you? Damn straight I do. Did you see? I got our man. What's our super duck man?
Jeff Rutledge.
You saw Jeff Rutledge. He tried coming at me on Twitter the other day, and I said, listen, if they got super duck, they got to call themselves bums, and they got to like it.
It was like he hit it on some good guys, apparently.
He did. He really did.
Yeah. I know. Just the one, I looked over, I glanced, and it was, he had the video going, it was not as clean as the Bubba Joey dance.
Honestly, I did not watch the full, 5-minute super duck highlight, so it probably got better towards the end.
But. Yeah. But maybe not. Okay. All right, so man, now see, this is what happens when you just come up with criteria on the spot at 6:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But whatever.
All right,
I'm going with
Ray, your turn.
All right, number 4, I had Jason Nolf, and I have to tip my hand a little bit, but I had Nolf and Nickel as really, really close to each other. And the reason that I had Nolf behind Nickel was because of the quality of wins, because he didn't have as many opportunities to win in those big moments. He did have a massive win over Imar. Mm-hmm. That's his single best win. But I think that's comparable to Gabe Dean, who's Bo's single best win. And then just the amount of really high quality wins that Bo had, I thought was better than Nolf. And I don't know how to factor this in, but the moments in which Bo was able to execute some incredibly high level wins. I think about him, he wasn't supposed to beat Gabe Dean, and he did. And then he definitely wasn't supposed to pin Miles Martin in the finals the way that he did. Miles had always, he got the better end of that rivalry, but it was a question. Miles had just beat him the week before, and he pins him.
No.
Didn't Miles beat him at Big Tens that year? That was the year before?
Year before.
Okay.
Wrong year.
Okay.
2 years before.
He had just beat him a year and a week before. And but anyway, that's why I have Nolf behind Nickel and Nolf at number 4.
Got it. I'm not mad at that.
All right, I go. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Nolf's wins. I was super impressed with them. I thought he had the 3rd best group of wins out of these guys, with having beaten Imar, yes, but Berger so many times, and Kemmer and Heidley and Deacon. Those are, you throw in the Pantaleos of the world. It's really good, but I think that's a really elite list. Just those 4 or 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for what it's worth, one of Noel's problems, and that's who I'm gonna choose Noel 5. I'm gonna choose Ruth 4. But Noel was the only one in this group to stay at the same weight class all 4 years. So I think that actually hurts him not being able to go beat a different group of people. So I got Ruth number 4, and I think the criteria that sways me on that one is the fact that he lost his senior year to Gabe Dean. If he wins that match, then he loses no matches his last 3 years. But that kind of put a little damper on his party.
It did. I mean, he had 2 straight undefeated seasons. It just looked like he was going to finish with 3 undefeated years, and he wasn't able to do so. And
really, Christian, no one came close to him his sophomore. I mean, there wasn't like a match where you're like, oh my God, he's going to lose this one his sophomore junior year. So he has a third one like that. I mean, even Zayn had the Sorensen match where you're like, oh, he could lose here, right? Ruth had none of those matches sophomore or junior year. I mean, he was a kind of untouchable, right? And then if you make that Gabe Dean loss different, where he's untouchable, so he would have been untouchable for 3 years. I don't think there's a lot of other people you could put in that criteria. I mean, almost no one. Who could you do?
No, I mean, very few.
Kale,
Zayn, Kale.
No, not even Zayn. Zayn had the Sorensen where he almost lost. I'm saying where they almost didn't.
Yeah,
untouchable 3 years. Who? I mean, there's nobody.
I have no idea. I mean,
I can't think of anyone. Logan lost. Kyle Snyder lost.
Dake lost his sophomore year.
Twice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think there's anyone that can make that claim. But he did lose that match. And you know what? He also, it is often forgotten how close that semi with Gabe was. Yeah. That was a close match. And, like, the very first takedown of that match is like, is that a takedown in 2020? Like, he gets to rear standing, and Dean Granby's out of bounds, and that was 2. That was huge. That was contested. I didn't think that was going to be 2 points. So that factors in as well. So not only did Gabe Dean beat him, he also gave him a really, really tight match.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you went Nolf.
So I'm first. I'm first again.
Yes.
Okay, so for number 3, I got to pick Bo Nickel, and I don't know why, because he had great wins, but the only season where I feel like he had one of those Penn State seasons where he just murdered everyone was his senior year. And I'm sure, statistically speaking, his junior year was really good, but I just don't remember having the same feeling about him. I felt like there was – and he didn't lose that year, correct? He did not.
Correct.
Yeah, but I remember thinking, there was a chance for, say, Miles Martin, or I don't recall who else was at the top of that weight class to beat him. So that's why he didn't give you that feeling with when Ed lost that senior you're talking about. I didn't think anyone was going to touch Ed. I thought everyone was here. Ed was here. I felt the same way about Nolf for his last 3 years. I felt the same way about David Taylor, right? Obviously his sophomore and his senior year. But Nickel, I didn't feel that way about until his senior year. Senior year, it was obvious no one was going to touch him.
Yeah, and that's interesting that was your perception his junior year. Because I'm trying to put myself – I have a hard time kind of deleting back to the point of, like, how did I feel going into Big Tens and NCAAs with Bo? And I know I'm sure we all picked him to win the matches, but I don't remember my perception like you do, Ben, of – he would lose, or did I think he was touchable? I don't remember how I was looking.
Well,
at
I mean,
I probably thought he would. I mean, I was one of the few people that picked him to beat Gabe his sophomore year. So I always kind of skewed a little bit on the aggressive of positivity for Bo Nickel. So maybe I didn't, but I see your perspective. He was certainly untouchable his senior year.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think he has the best wins of the bunch.
Bo. But again, he changed weight classes so many times that kind of makes that it enhances that maybe unfairly to other people.
Perhaps, yes. And that's why you have more. That's why it's not my only criteria, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because the Drew Foster thing, Christian. If Nickel stays at 184, Drew Foster's not winning 184. It's impossible.
It's impossible. Yeah. Scientifically. And, that's why, he gets the benefit of the best wins, but to me, he has the 4th worst losses, or he had the 2nd worst losses of the bunch because he lost to Nate Jackson. He had a couple losses to Miles Martin. So I factored those in. I mean, it's really, there's nothing but nits to pick with these guys. But
nits to pick.
Yeah. That's all that's left.
That's all there is.
You're just picking them. So, okay, now we're at your number 3 was Bo.
I got Bo. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think I already showed my hand a little bit here, but also I have Bo Nickel at number 3. And Ben, your perception was definitely right about his dominance senior year. His bonus rates the first 3 years were 65, 77, and 74, and then his senior year jumped to 90%. So he just, he really distanced himself that year. And I have him ahead of 3. And like I said before, it was about him and Nolf. And I just, for me, the wins was what pushed him up and the way in which he got a couple of those wins. But it is interesting to think about. You guys were saying his wins could be considered very different if he'd stayed at the same weight. Also, a lot of the way we think about his, one of his best wins is Miles Martin because he's an NCAA champ, and he had the ability to prevent him from being an NCAA champ. So,
that's a good point there.
It is interesting. I mean, that he's the one that kind of made Miles made himself an NCAA champ, but Bo had the opportunity.
He was one that you can say allowed to be.
Yeah, Bo had the opportunity to deny him, and he didn't. So interesting, but still, I thought his wins were better, and that was why I had him above Nolf.
Yes. So for number 3 for me was Ed Ruth. A couple things that helped him was he had the best win percentage, which I've already said maybe I shouldn't even include it because they're all so similar. As far as wins go, I thought he had the second best wins of the bunch, having beaten Gabe Dean, Steve Bozak, who were both NCAA champions, both Cornell 84-pounders, interestingly, Nick Amuchastegui, Mac Lunas, so he really beat a lot of good Cornell wrestlers is the lesson here. Robert Hamlin was a finalist. Jimmy Sheptock a finalist. Logan Storley a 4-time AA. I'm pretty sure he texted Storley on multiple occasions. Nick Heflin, who was an NCAA finalist. So he beat a lot of really good guys. He had 75 early terminations, 46 pins, 29 techs, and 33 majors for a 77% bonus rate. His loss, he had I put him down for the worst losses of this bunch because he lost to Mike Letts his freshman year, and then he had the Dean loss his senior year, and then he had I count the Amuchastegui. I know it was an injury default, but I kind of count that as a loss. Like I know it's maybe I'm like
he was losing.
He was losing at the time, and like maybe I'm not being even here because Jason Nolf. I do not count a John Van Brill loss. I refuse.
You shouldn't.
I refuse to count that as a loss. And,
you should refuse.
Yeah, I'm actively refusing that. Sorry, John Van Brill. I'm not giving you a win over Jason Nolf. So, yeah, so that's why I went with Ed as number 3 overall. I definitely see a case for him being at 5, right? I could understand that because he had a loss his senior year, which I don't think, none of these guys had a loss their senior year. But
yes,
it's so unbelievably close with these guys. And I loved watching Ed wrestle. I thought he was so – I don't think we've seen anything like him since, really. There's been other guys that can score, but the way he scored and the ease and just, I don't know, the fluidity I found to be very, very exciting to watch.
I mean, one of the things that's interesting about Ed, I feel like – and maybe David will be probably the most similar to Ed, but Ed, even with his top game, was very smooth. You think of Rutherford, you think very forceful, right? Got his bow and arrow or broke him down flat and then whatever. Ed was just so smooth to the turns. That's kind of where David was also, where they were, not as – they didn't use force as much, and that was kind of unique the way they did that.
Yeah. I mean, how would you describe his crossface cradle?
Yeah, I it's not just like he just like hulks it over. It's so technical. It's boom, boom, and the way the thing why, in my opinion, why it's sizzle, his weight is just shifted slightly more forward to the point where most people are scared to go there because they'll fall off. But he understands that he has a great feel for it, and so he can put his weight in a position where it's going to allow him to get significantly more cradles and probably not fall off and get reversed. And that's to me that's a technical thing.
Yeah, so it's interesting, watching him cradle guys for, 4 years. He just could so quickly just collect that arm and pull it in and then connect it in a way that, I've seen Bo do that. I've seen all these guys do that, but he was able to do it so consistently. So I just refuse to believe that was a power thing. There was just something different he was able to figure out that we haven't really seen replicated.
Bracky sent a note, and he said people forget that Amuchastegui was that Ed was actually beating Amuchastegui when he took injury time the first time.
Yes, he got the first takedown.
And then he was injured, and then Amuchastegui took the lead, and then the default happened. So
the super strange thing about that one for me is that somehow magically Ed wrestled back and won 2 matches and took third place there, which allows Penn State to win that title. But if he took the injury there, and listen, I don't know Ed, so I can't say exactly what his deal was. But for him to then wrestle back 2 matches after having the injury default, that's kind of strange to me.
Yeah, and I mean didn't he have Lunas again on the backside?
Yeah, he beat Lunas and Heinrich on the backside.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah,
because when he beat those guys at the Southern Scuffle, weren't they 1 and 2?
Lunas was definitely 1. Heinrich was like 2 or so.
So, yeah, those are incredible wins on the backsides. That's a good point.
Yeah, 74 was amazing that year. I wish we could have seen him wrestle Reader that year. Because those were the 2 best. It would have been really something. And it would have been interesting because Cale coached John for so long, right? Knows him intimately. And that probably would have been pretty tough for him. But yeah, he had a great backside run beating Lunas. I think Glasser was actually his round of 12 match, and it was ended up being kind of close. Scott Glasser of Minnesota. Could be misremembering that slightly, but I know he wrestled Glasser. Okay. So yeah, Ed Ruth was my number 3. Then we go
solid choice.
Thank you very much. Do I start?
Not like your Zane pick. That was dog crap.
I know. I was like, you know what? I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, but I knew that none of you guys would have that in there, so I was like, you know what? We'll just throw a monkey wrench in the works. My number 2 is Jason Nolf. Some of the big factors that led to him. He is my second favorite to watch of this bunch. Excuse me. I just thought he was as unpredictable and exciting and unique a guy as we'd really seen. And it's not just like, the Winn-Dixie and the front flip double leg defense. I liked how he was like a cat playing with a mouse sometimes. He would cover on top and just grab their ankles and flip them up and throw. It's like he was just just different. And I really liked watching him wrestle. He had a crazy pace in a lot of different ways to win. The other thing that helped him is he had in my opinion, most acceptable losses. He lost to one man, Isaiah Martinez, his entire career.
Yeah.
Over 4 years.
Most acceptable.
Yes. So best, worst losses, however you want to say it. He lost to his are most acceptable. He lost to a guy that looked like he was on the trajectory to be a 4-time champ, and he also beat that guy once. So I think when you consider that really helped him, and he had the second highest bonus rate of this bunch and the second most early terminations. Which, if you had asked me this morning, who that was, I would not have said it was Jason Nolf. I probably would have said he'd be 4th or 5th on this list. But
I would have said that also.
He had 61 pins and 27 techs for 88 terminations, right? Early match terminations. And an 88% bonus rate.
We talked about this the other day. A bunch of his non-bonus were that year that he got hurt between the Big Ten and the NCAAs.
So many of those were.
It would have been higher. Yeah.
It would have been higher. And so I think the bonus rate, the acceptable losses, he had the 3rd best bunch of wins, and the aesthetics made him, even though he never won the Hodge, he was, so he was never voted the best for any one year. He wound up number 2 for me based on those criteria. And if you throw out fun to watch, if you throw out win percentage, he's still my number 2. So there it is.
Dang. Man, you made a great argument for Jason Nolf, and now I feel like a dick for having him at number 5.
Well, I had Zane Rutherford at 5, so
that wasn't you being mean. That was you making a really bad decision with your life.
Well, Ben, you say that, but you seem to be mostly accepting of my choices otherwise, right? You seem to understand my rationale, and my rationales are the same, right? The reason I conclude Jason Nolf is where he is the exact reason I concluded Zane Rutherford where he is.
To tell you the truth, there's no good and bad answers to this debate.
Yeah.
Zane at 5 could be the only bad one.
That's it. Just that one.
Just that one. Okay.
All right. For me, number 2 is David Taylor.
Oh my.
So he obviously there are only 2 guys left for me, and it's Zane and David. David, compared to Zane, his best win, not quite as good as Zane's best win of Logan Stieber. So that was a big piece of it for me. And then 2 titles instead of 3.
Yeah.
And also Zane had those 3 undefeated seasons. So that was why his bonus rate, his just like sheer dominance, other than his 3 losses, all of which were to NCAA champions, 2 of which were to Kyle Dake, who was a 4-time champ.
Mm-hmm.
Those are extremely acceptable losses. So David's number 2. It's his bonus rate and his dominance that puts him above the 3 guys below him. But it's those 2 titles and kind of lacking that single one really incredible win that the other guys had. In fact, I think his single best win is the maybe lowest quality of anybody else on this list, because Nickel and Ed have Dean. Nolf has Imar, and Zane has Logan Stieber.
Right. No, I think it's true. I agree with that. Good perspective. Ben?
I agree with everything that David Bray said. I would pretty much just recap his argument. I have David Taylor at number 2 also for the exact same reasons.
Okay. My number 2. Wait, I already said this, didn't I? Which means we're now at number 1.
Yes. Which is my turn. I picked Zane because he had 3 straight undefeated seasons, and I am going to take into account the fact that he was the only one to not redshirt. And if he does redshirt, I do not believe he loses that following season. I believe he is undefeated, 4-time NCAA champion. He has 2 Hodge trophies. He was incredibly dominant. Really, we talk about being far and away. I believe the only really highly competitive match he had his last 2 years was the Sorensen at Carver. I don't really think anyone came all that close to beating him. Maybe there's one other close match against I don't recall what the Oklahoma State 49-pounder name was right now.
Colica?
Blanking. Wasn't there a close match there? Relatively close?
Yes. It was like a 2-1 riding time win.
Yeah.
Against
So, yeah, that was not a great match for him. So he has 2 relatively close matches, and besides that, utterly dominant.
Utterly dominant, but against admittedly the least impressive. Maybe.
But he stayed at the same weight. But he made them all least impressive, right? So if Zane wins 149 as a sophomore and then does like Bo Nickel and moves up, then someone wins that weight class that he beat already. You're saying that guy's an NCAA champion, and then he moves up again. Someone else wins that weight class, and now he's beaten multiple NCAA champions.
Yes. Yes. Well, and you know what? The other thing is, like, listen, I remember Willie and I won at Flow Nationals one year, like screamed at each other over the Hodge vote because I was just adamant Zane should have won it his sophomore year. And by literally every measurement, he was better than Daringer that year other than like number of accomplishments, which is impossible because he was a sophomore. Yeah. So I've always been like, dude, Zane really was the best guy for 3 straight years. So, I mean, I think you can very reasonably. And he made a world team in college.
That's crazy.
A senior world team in college, which we didn't really factor that in. But while we're just saying it, I'll just say that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so number 1 for me was also Zane Rutherford, and I don't have a whole lot to add to what Ben said. I did. I looked at those true freshman seasons, and we didn't factor those in obviously because for everybody else, because Zane was the only one who competed in the lineup. But the other guys had pretty decent true freshman years, but not nearly as good as Zane's. I know that's a little bit immaterial. David had 2 losses. Both were to teammates, right? Ed had 3 losses. Nickel had 2. One was Andy McCulley. Nolf had 1. His only loss was James Green. So his true freshman year was really impressive.
He beat Real Buto.
Yeah, that's a good way.
So I had Zane number 1. Bracky sent another note in the chat. He said he reminded us that Zane also had a 2-1 win over BJ Clagan.
Yes,
which
I think that was his sophomore year.
I forgot about that. That
was
is
sophomore,
a close one. But yeah, his 3 undefeated seasons and the win over Stieber were what put him at number 1 for me.
Yes. So via process of elimination, you guys know that David Taylor is my number 1 choice. He was my favorite to watch. I found him the most fun. That helped him a lot. He had the second most acceptable losses, in my opinion, having only lost to his old teammate, Bubba Jenkins, and maybe the second best to ever do it ever in the history of college wrestling, Kyle Dake. And he was right there in those matches as well. So when you factor that he was, even if you threw out the aesthetic portion, which you may find too subjective, his early termination and bonus rate were both number 1. So not only did he have the highest bonus rate, but he had the most get off the match before 7 minutes was up. With this guy had 9 decisions in 4 years.
But Christian, I'm sure all of them would be similar. Really, all of them would be really close to that.
They're close, but his is the best, 91% bonus rate, and he wrestled more matches, right? So,
that likely means, I mean, when you say more matches, that actually, it's like me going to the Central Missouri State Open. I'm going to go 100% bonus at that tournament, right? So those extra matches were probably all easier matches where he was almost guaranteed to go bonus.
Maybe that's it. They had the
Well, they're all wrestling. Okay, what's the toughest part of the schedule? Big Ten duels, Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament, and probably scuffle, right? And so those are all the same for all of them.
Except during Nolf's junior year, he didn't wrestle a couple of those matches that could have potentially lowered his bonus.
Because he got hurt.
He got hurt. Yeah, he was hurt and he defaulted out. I don't know.
But that was the year. Was that 17? That was 18. 2018. But that was. But he had most of his decisions come that either that NCAAs or that Big Tens.
Yeah.
Another thing for David, while we're talking about things that maybe aren't factored on numerically, is like he was, and I know Ed was along as well, and those two did it together. But he really carried the torch and got it going at Penn State, and he was the face of that program, fair or not, in my opinion. He was the one that followed Cale and really believed. Ed was there. I don't think that really should factor in, but there is something to that. Like he said, I will follow Cale and we'll realize this dream and we'll do it together. And he realized every aspect of it, right? Not only did he win 2 Hodge trophies, but then he fulfilled it on the senior level, which I know I said we're not really factoring in, but it all kind of, I think he's the most, is he the best Penn State wrestler of all time? I'm not sure, but I think he's the most important Penn State wrestler of all time.
I would agree with that.
Yes, I would disagree with that. So Nolf had between the Big Tens and the NCAAs, he had three of his decisions there, and then he had 2 majors, so 2 non-ending matches out of 7 matches total.
Listen to David's 4 NCAA tournaments. He had 11 pins, 2 techs, just 3 decisions.
Yeah,
that's wild. NCAAs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And crazy.
When I think about David Taylor's career, like a couple of the most important matches were the Bubba Jenkins match and then the Dake matches, and he was so dominant, and he did lose those, which is why I think his 2018 World Championships run was so impressive, because he had guys at that level, guys that his whole path through, it was like, can he beat these guys, starting with Yazdani, and then he gets a big win over Torreblanca, and then that crazy match with Karugliev where he's probably concussed.
Definitely concussed.
And he just he just gritted out those matches that were maybe 50-50 kind of matches, and he didn't have a ton of opportunities to wrestle in those matches in college, but those Dake and Bubba losses were tough. So for him to get that win in 2018, it was like, all right, I just felt he's on a new level now. You know, he's beating these guys. He's not. I don't know if not supposed to is the right way to describe it, but definitely could lose to. So that was
what else would be interesting for David is if Howe would not have redshirted that 1 year at 165 because I think that was 2012. Because Howe beat him at the trials that year, and that was the year that David beat up on Brandon Hatchett in the finals. And there was no other, super competitive matches for him. That would have been one that could have either helped him by giving him another oh my God, he beat this guy, or hurt him if he takes a loss.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. There's kind of a what if you could say with almost every one of these guys, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely one for David. Okay, so no agreement between the three of us. I think that's
okay. So if we go, 2 out of 3 wins, Zane wins.
Uh-huh.
If we did the total points, I totaled up the points for us.
Okay.
It goes.
How
it
very
goes
Christian Piles of you.
It goes Ruth 6 points, Noel 7 points, Nickel 8 points, Zane 11, DT 13.
Okay, so it'd be DT, Zane, some
Nickel, Noel, Ruth.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that either.
Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah,
it's a pretty.
You guys should put up a poll. Can you put up a poll where they can make 5 choices or no? Is it possible?
I don't know.
It should be possible if it's not.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. No, just 4. Darn it, Twitter.
But on Twitter you only get to pick one though, where you actually have to list them 1 through 5. That's where it would be interesting for me.
Oh yeah, if everyone could throw it in order. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to do.
Not to throw shade on David's bracket, but in 2012 I just pulled it back up when that was the year that Andrew Howe redshirted. The number 2 seed in that bracket was Shane Onifer.
I know. Shout out Wyoming.
That's like
It was like Asper, Onifer. I mean, Hatchett was a surprise finalist. It was a weak wait.
Hatchett came from the 11.
Yeah.
This group is there can't be another group of 5 people like this in a 9-year span. The worst loss of any of these 5 guys is an All-American Mike Letts.
Yes.
Let's make a deal.
Yeah. The freshman year. That's like the big trivia question with Ed is who'd he lose to his freshman year? That's not Muchastegi. He lost to him at the Nittany Lion Open.
Nice. I pinned Mike Letts once.
Did you?
Wow. Yeah, in my first period, baby.
Was Robin Ficker there? We were listening to a little Ficker talk today. He said, "Let's make a deal. He takes you down. You give him 2 points or something like that."
Ficker's the man. Ficker cornered me when I wrestled Jake. Came out of retirement to wrestle.
That's right.
Jake Herbert at Midlands because I didn't have a coach.
What did he say?
Who knows? I didn't listen to him. I just wanted some entertainment.
That was a good choice. Okay, so very, very great list. And you think about Zane Rutherford kind of connected the 2 eras, right? He was at the very end of the Ed David era, and then he kind of was the leader of the Nolf Zane.
The other thing I've been thinking about during all this Penn State research for this film, every single one of these guys was on 4 title teams.
Yeah, they all won all their years.
None of them were on that 2015 team.
That's crazy.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild run, and the thing is you can't, because after Ed David, and kind of one of the interesting things and one of the points of the film that's discussed is okay, well they got lightning in the bottle with Ed and David, and it won't happen again, and then it happened again, and even though we don't see it happened again, maybe to a higher degree, because instead of 2 they had 3, and now we're saying, okay, now it's maybe really for real not happening again, but who knows?
Well, and not only did they have 3 instead of 2, but they also had Chenzo and Hall, who would be on a top 5 list for most teams.
Yeah, most
or a Nico. Nico be up there for most teams.
Nico, G-Hulk, Gorilla. Frank was a 4-time All-American, multiple finalist.
Quentin Wright.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
We need someone needs to do like the top 20 Penn State wrestlers of all time. That would be really, really interesting.
I nominate Spay.
Spay will just make me mad. He'll do a good job though. He'll do something stupid like put Zane at 5. Really make me mad.
How high on the list will Phil Davis be? That's what I want to know.
I don't know if he's top 10, which is crazy. He's probably right around top 10.
Yeah.
There's this. I'm gonna go out there. There's this guy in the chat on Facebook who has pretty much the worst takes ever.
Nice.
I mean, like they're really bad. But his most recent thing, I don't know if I should need to say his name, but you guys can see it on Facebook. His most recent take is Colette's best move was to intentionally put himself in a potentially dangerous position when people got in on his legs. Cheap as Hades. I don't know what that means. It's like, oh my God, how do you not understand wrestling to the level to understand that Kerry Colette's an effing wizard? And, if the referees actually understood what he was doing, they would have not called punch dangerous. It was scored. It was his detriment, not to his benefit, you dope.
Colette's best move was putting his knee in best. That's a great go-to. Describe your offense. I get a lot of potentially dangerouses. Wow. There you have it. Kerry Colette, one of the greats. Who really?
I think that this guy might just be trying to rile people up. Like earlier, he said, "I discount Rutherford for his lack of diversity of technique."
Well, you say that, but that was kind of why he was like my least favorite to watch.
Yeah, I said it was a terrible take with you too.
Is he your favorite guy to watch of the Penn State 5?
No, but when I'm including best wrestlers, I'm not including who I like to watch. I'm including stuff that's actually relevant to the discussion.
I don't know. I bet it's the artistry or the how you feel when you watch them. I think there is something for that, right?
I think there just is a different audience for Zane Rutherford's aesthetics. Remember that MTV show Bully Beatdown? He was kind of like watching that show.
It's just a totally different topic. I mean, if we want to talk about most fun people to watch, we can have that discussion. All I'm saying is I don't really feel as though it has a place in this discussion.
I don't disagree.
Like, you know what? If we want to pick number 1, I'm picking Quentin Wright because God only knows what happened when he goes out there. It's wild. Who knows?
I know for a fact he's going to hit 76 Grambies, whether it's working or not, underneath. That guy was the Grambiest son of a gun. Yeah, you're right. He would. Remember when Ben so cockily said he knew he was going to beat him because he wasn't going to let him underhook because he's not a dummy? It's like it's that simple to not get underhooked by Quentin Wright. It's like Ben has all these.
You just put your elbow to your side and grab their hand.
Ben. Sometimes you need a reality check that the things you're describing are not as simple as you think. I'm not a dummy. I'm not going to let him underhook. I would never get super ducked because I'm not a bum. Meanwhile, there's multiple All-Americans that have been super ducked, and yet, maybe
they're
just
bums.
Yeah. See, you're just alienating the common folk, Ben.
Oh man!
All right.
I'm having fun here on the show. We're having a great show. We're having a great time.
Yeah, good times, great oldies. Hey, we gotta mention the Penn State film. We Are Kale's First Decade. Episode 1 is coming out tonight, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. I don't know where you live though.
It's good. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's super good. You're gonna love it. And one of the interesting things is if you're tired of Penn State, it's like, oh my gosh, really? I have to watch. But there's enough pain in there that I think you'll be like, all right, it was not all. The overall theme for all 3 episodes is unquestionably Penn State is the best. They're the greatest. Kale's the best. They've had the greatest wrestlers. But there's real drama in these, and it's not always been just so perfect.
But Christian, listen, I'm gonna talk to those people right now.
Okay.
Throw your jealousy away. throw it away. Leave it at the door. Penn State is strictly enjoyable to watch wrestling unless you hate them because of your jealousy. That is the only way you can explain not enjoying watching David Taylor or Ed Ruth or Jason Nolf wrestle. That's it. Like, there's no other explanation. You cannot come up with them besides you are jealous and you're sad that they're winning. That's it. Like, and I don't want them to win every single time. because that's boring. So I get where you're coming from. Not you, Christian, but the audience.
Yeah.
But leave it at the door. They're just enjoyable to watch, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Okay. Hey, some plugs. One, you can buy Flow Sports shirts now, so you don't have to hit me up and ask for one. So shop.flowsports.tv. You can get this one. You can't get that one. I didn't see that one on there.
Make me an offer.
Yeah, honestly, for this one, make me an offer. It could be, this is a game-worn jersey right here.
Yeah.
So in like the NFL, if this was like an Aaron Rodgers thing, it'd be worth a lot of money. So just think about that. My DMs are open. But yeah, check those out because it's funny because for literally everyone just wants Flow stuff. They hit you up. I don't know how many times I've been asked, yo, hook it up with a Flow shirt. Like we just have them laying around in boxes. It's like I remember I got asked so many times, and the Flow shirt I had for like the first, 2 to 3 years was Bader's old shirt that he just gave me when I started. And it was from like the London Olympics, and they had like the 2012 and the American flag. So I literally just had Bader's old shirt was mine, and people were like, ask so much for one, which is why we had the bootlegging situation with LJ and Sion making their dang bootleg ones. And I'd be like, yo, hook it up, LJ. Let me get a bootleg Flow shirt. Because times were tough. Okay, you do anything for a Flow shirt. So now you can actually have one. I kind of really like the exclusivity of having a Flow shirt. Yeah. Like if you got one, it was like you got to know someone or be like Jordan Oliver or something.
The first Flow shirt I got was also a Mark Bader Flow shirt.
Mark Bader has distributed.
He'll give you a shirt off his back.
Literally. For the first time I worked with Mark in person, I think maybe the second time, but I went to the 2012 Olympic trials and drove through the night, got to Iowa City, was crashing in the hotel room with Mark and Joe, and Bader's like, hey, do you have a Flow shirt? What are you gonna wear? I'm like, I don't know. And he did. He literally took his shirt off that he was wearing. It was like plenty sweaty. Had been worn and worked in all day. He's like, here you go. It's like, okay. So I wore it for the next couple of days at the Olympic trials.
Did you wash it?
I didn't wash it before. I didn't have access to a washer. I'm just smelling like Bader.
Listen, if Bader, you gotta imagine 2012 Bader has changed his shirt.
Bader?
Yeah, man.
Bader doesn't smell. You would think maybe he'd be a smelly hippie guy. He doesn't smell.
Just mostly smell like his deodorant,
okay. Guys, listen, I have traveled extensively with Mark Bader, and while he has fairly good hygiene for what his hair situation looks like, you would think it'd be worse. I have, in fact, smelled Mark Bader, and it does not smell pleasant.
I think in general...
One time we went to Northern California, and this man refused to shower on the whole trip. He didn't shower for like 7 days.
Okay, I don't know what was going on with him then. He's not like that now. He showers.
He refused.
Why?
We hiked Mount Lassen, a volcano, up and down. He wouldn't shower. I don't know what his damn problem was.
Oh my gosh, he must have smelled like a locker room. That's terrible. Well, listen, he's evolved since that time. I think he was just messing with you, Ben.
No, he wasn't. That was Mark Bader. Like that's like we're talking about like the essence of Mark Bader. That's him.
He's a big hygiene guy now. He's hygienic enough. So
normal, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of shirt off their back in Mark Bader, I was thinking back. This is not as happy a thing, but Mike DeRoe is such an awesome guy. And I remember on the Final X road trip, we stopped by in 2018 to see him, and Bader, I think, did it. I think we were picking Bader up. He was doing an interview with him. We were kind of split up in Iowa. He was doing something with him, and DeRoe came out and was hanging. And literally, as we were leaving, he takes the USA Wrestling polo off and gives it to Bader, and Bader wore it. And I know he still has that USA Wrestling shirt. So, circle of life. Mark Bader giving the shirt off his back and getting it from an absolute legend, Mike DeRoe. Rest in peace, 'cause he was an awesome guy. Sorry, that's not very fun, but it happened, and Mike DeRoe's great. Okay, there's no way to segue well from that, so I'll just do a read real quick, and then we'll move on. Okay.
Okay.
And then I know Ben's chomping at the bit for something. Hey, this show, Flow Wrestling Radio Live, is brought to you by RX Sports, the official CBD partner of FloWrestling, the all-natural, highly concentrated CBD product, perfect for all your training recovery needs. Visit rxsports.com/flowsports for an automatic 20% discount off your entire order. Defy your pain with RX Sports. And Bray has stopped using it as eye drops, and that's made all the difference for him.
Yeah, I decided to defy my pain by taking it the way it's meant to be taken, and my eyes no longer water incessantly.
Yeah. All right, Ben, you were saying?
Karen McCoy. A few people, including my friend John Veal, have brought him up as a Penn State guy. He would probably be the best Penn State prior. So I just heard he had a really poor freshman year. Remember, he started as a true freshman and he lost like 18 matches.
Yeah.
Or maybe somewhere around there. I think he was like 500, right? But then he redshirted, and then his last 3 years, I believe he won 3 NCAA titles, or maybe took second, first, and then he did win a Hodge Trophy his senior year. So
Dang.
I think he's in consideration, but obviously he's also kind of not, because when you have every other guy who has 3 losses and he has 18, you kind of got to kick him out.
Well, he's not in the it'd be tough for him to get in the top 5, but he would definitely be a top 10 guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's probably possibly at 6. I mean, when he won 131 of his last 132 matches, and a Hodge Trophy. Yeah, he's very, very far up there.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's go. Why don't we transition to questions from friends? We've got them. Let's hear from them.
Let's do it.
Okay, from this guy, we have a correction from last show.
Uh-oh.
Christian Piles drinks chunky milk. Okay, this is the guy that said Jack Medley only had 2 years left, and Bracky said no, he has 1. So he goes, I listened to 509 today and state my case. Medley is on Michigan's roster as a redshirt sophomore. Not sure if it's a typo, but I believe he redshirted his freshman year. Owen Piles, you do drink chunky milk. And then Bracky goes, dang it, that's my bad. I was working on Michigan depth chart when listening to FRL yesterday, and for some reason I had him listed as a senior. I guess I'm the one who drinks chunky milk. So Kyle Bracky drinks chunky milk, and I do not. So there you have it. But Jack Medley does have 2 years left, so there's going to be some conflict there because he looks like a 25 for the long haul, and he can do like 300 push-ups without stopping, like no problem.
That's impressive.
Didn't he just like run a marathon off the couch for fun?
Wrestlers are just running marathons on a whim now. They're so bored they can't wrestle. They're just running. They're turning into ultra marathoners. It's really impressive.
Well, a lot of us are back to wrestling now, Christian.
Yeah,
that was the marathon thing was so a month ago.
Oh,
yeah, that was a month ago.
Dude, if you can run a marathon here in Austin, Texas, you're a beast, because it has been brutal this last week or so.
What, 100 degrees?
Yeah, it was well, my car thermometer said 102 yesterday when I left work, so that was pretty spicy. I don't know if we even want to do this one, but here we go. I'll just read it from Drew Best. Who's your favorite PSU underdog? What was special about their postseason run? I mean, I don't know. It's like,
I'd have to have a list.
James English placed after being like third string much of the year, and they don't win. It's probably him because they don't win NCAAs in 2014 without James English. He was not.
I know. No, Christian, I know yours. It's Quentin Wright wins the title from number 9,
and he wins it from the 9, and they don't win NCAAs without him doing that. His pin of Gambrel in the semis locked it up. Yeah, and I'm big Quentin Wright guy, so maybe it is. Maybe it's Quentin. It's hard to think of him as an underdog when he's a 3-time or 2-time champ, 3-time finalist.
Yeah,
but
he was.
He was then for sure.
Yeah, it's Quentin Wright.
Very fun guy. Okay, Quentin Wright, but also James English, and I don't even know who the other underdogs were. I mean, Bo Nickel was technically. I mean, dude, Chinzo pinning Aymar is insane. He inside tripped him and pinned him. That was not supposed to happen.
No.
I don't know, man.
Well, that's a good one, too.
A freshman beating 2-time champ Aymar. I don't know. That to me was the most jaw-dropping thing. My jaw literally dropped. I didn't believe what my eyes were seeing. And I knew Chinzo was really, really good, but I had not allowed the possibility of that happening.
Chenzo, Hall, and Nickel in a row none of them were necessarily supposed to win, right? I mean, they all could, but
Bo beat Mark at Big Tens. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Bo
year.
Jordan beat Mark at Big Tens, and Gabe Dean was 2-time champ, and
was gonna he might have won the Hodge. Him or Zane were gonna win the Hodge.
Yeah, I mean, I it was like 5 finalists. I remember thinking 5 finalists, but
2 to 3.
Zane and Nolf are gonna win, and maybe they get one of the other ones. So that whole run was kind of an underdog run.
You don't think of underdogs when you think Penn State.
Yeah.
No, not really. But those are good choices. I go Quentin Wright still, but I like the Chenzo one. That's a really good one.
Oh my gosh. From William Gawkel, shouldn't AWA wrestle Pinnacle, MWC, and Seabolt?
I would love it. We're missing some competition, Christian.
Not good.
We miss it. We miss it. Why we miss competition?
Yeah, I know.
Set it up.
All right, you set it up. You got all those guys' numbers.
I actually don't. Well,
What?
I have one of the numbers on that list.
Paulson, right?
Yeah. Well, Jared Lawrence.
Jared Lawrence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are the chances we get Jeff Rutledge and Ben to wrestle off, preferably after the hip surgery, just so we can see a flawless super duck executed on some hipless bum?
Listen, I don't need a new hip. I have a terrible hip, and he can try super duck me all he wants, and it just won't happen.
It just won't happen. You're unsuper duckable.
Unsuper duckable.
Wow.
You know why? I mean, I'm just going to explain the semantics of this. I don't sprawl, so I can't get super ducked. And to get partied on in a super duck, you got to sprawl. Listen, if he super ducks me, I'm just going to turn around and meet him on the other side.
All right. So Coach Rutledge, super duck, Steve Fittery, Ethan Kyle, Manny Rivera, and Zach Bailey, all on the highlight. He says they can't be considered bums. That is true. Steve Fittery was a bad dude. But
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Ben
Askren says they're bums.
Is this guy paying you to go get people to watch his highlight?
I don't know. Maybe that's the one thing YouTube hasn't demonetized yet is the Jeff Rutledge Super Duck highlight. It's the only thing.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. So Aaron Darrow, any chance Spencer Lee would bump to 133 just to prove he's the GOAT of college wrestling? Do you think he could win 133? I know it doesn't make sense for their team, but would strengthen his legacy.
Yeah,
I don't think it. One, he would not bump up. Two, if he bumped up and won 133, I don't think that would make him the GOAT either. Like no. Cael Sanderson never lost to anyone ever. Like
these kids, Christian, throw on GOAT all the time. They don't actually mean GOAT.
Yeah.
FYI.
Everyone's a GOAT. But if everyone's a GOAT, no one's a GOAT. We have to restore some order. And Cael is the unquestionable GOAT. And
yes.
It would require Spencer Lee to not have lost for him to enter that. I mean, would you ever consider anyone that they could surpass Cael with a loss?
No, not really.
You got to go 159-0. Also, this dude didn't miss any matches. He wrestled 40 matches a year. Yeah, none of these guys wrestled 160 matches.
Yeah,
right? None of these Penn State guys did.
Spencer Lee can't be the GOAT, but imagine him in a bracket with Sebastian Rivera, Dayton Fix, Devon Micic, RBY.
So much fun.
It would be insane. It would definitely be a if he went up and won that would be mind-blowing, especially if Nick Soriano comes back. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It would be awesome. I would love it.
So much fun.
But yeah, it makes no sense for Iowa. I don't think it makes sense for Spencer. Spencer is not a big 25, right?
No.
Yes.
So 33 would be insane. Though, if you're putting a gun to my head and you said, hey, Spencer Lee decided right now to go 133, I would pick him to win that tournament. Yes. I say he beats all those guys. Fight me. Okay, Paul Jacobson asks me, would I do a man in the middle against Zane, Nolf, and Chenzo for an exclusive interview with Cael? Now, one, I don't know the exact. What is a man in the middle? Is that like?
It means shark bait. They're all
shark bait. Okay.
Yeah.
So how much pain am I mean how much wrestling am I doing with these guys?
You're not gonna die, Christian. Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, is it like a day long situation? Maybe I would die, but like I could get beat on for a half hour, an hour, 2 hours. These guys, I'd be okay for an exclusive with Cael. 1 hour, no holds barred, cage match. Maybe not a cage match. Yeah,
You're gonna want to bar a couple holds.
I don't want. Yeah, I might want to bar a few. But yeah, no, I would do that for sure. I can take a beating, no problem. One of my specialties, in fact. Wow, this is kind of shots fired at Ben, so I'll read it and let him just dunk on this dude. Does Ben get paid more to bring up Keegan's late high school development?
No, I get paid the same no matter what. I'm sorry that I'm bringing up the truth and you guys don't want to hear about it. I was trying to find a tweet, but you guys Flo posted that Gary Tonin also thinks talent does not exist.
Man,
which is fantastic.
Yeah, his rationale was actually, I was like, man, get him on this show. It'd be a much less formidable opponent than you. I'm gonna try to find that.
No. Anyway, so let me I'll just kind of go on this. Listen, we believe at AWA that people can develop late in life. I just brought up another kid last night. There was a kid we had. I just checked to confirm. He went 0-2 at Freestyle State and got teched and pinned in 2 matches as an 8th grader. He's a junior now, and Flo has not ranked him because I don't think you guys have taken the seniors out yet. But he just got ranked on the Open Mat National Ranking. So he went from a kid who went 0-2 and got pinned and teched at Freestyle State to a kid who's nationally ranked just a couple years later. We've had that happen many times now because we believe in the kids' abilities to be developed later, and it does happen on a very regular basis.
Yes. No, I think it's worth it. So Gary Tonin said, talent is a myth substantiated by those of lesser skill and industriousness. It's a word that allows people to sleep at night when they've given up on their dreams. People are born with different attributes that ease success in certain areas, which is basically how I define talent. So Gary Tonin actually agrees with me. But no one is born a world champion. Well, no crap, Gary Tonin. He proved.
Gary Tonin's going to come break your leg. You talk like sassy like that to him, he's going to snap your ankle.
I like Gary Tonin a lot.
He's going to come in here with his Five Guys t-shirt on, and he is going to.
Gary Tonin is awesome. He's a
Listen.
But
You talk about taking pain. You want the pain to change. Listen, you don't want the pain to get Tonin.
No, I don't want any jiu-jitsu pain. I can just get snapped down and taken down and double-legged and put down. I'm not even – listen, so I do a little jiu-jitsu, and anytime anyone even grabs my foot or anything, I'm so unaware of what's happening. I just immediately tap. I'm like, I don't know what could happen here. And one thing they say about heel hooks, Ben, you probably know a little bit more, is you don't really – it just all of a sudden it happens and your knee just pops and it's destroyed. So it's I don't know if I'm even in a heel hook, so I'm just tapping because I'm not going to listen. I'll get choked and I'll be in a triangle forever, and if I go out in a choke, I don't really care. But I'm not getting I can't get knee surgery for a recreational activity. It's just not going to happen. Agreed. So I'm just tapping. It's not worth it.
I was curious about what those leg lock things are, and I saw this video of Tex Johnson snapping a baseball bat with his leg lock, and I know he's not even one of the best. He's just pretty good.
He's just a leg locker.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
I think he broke up. He snapped Felipe Pena. Yeah, these guys. No, thank you. No part of Gary Tonin. That's where I bow out. But I'm glad he agrees. I'm glad he agrees with me about talent, though. Okay, next from Nick Croninger. What stand out to you as moments of this kid has arrived moments? Seabass beating Lee at Midlands is up there. Somehow Pitch beating Lee isn't. When did you realize certain wrestlers were stars? So I don't know exactly what he means here.
That's tough to define.
It's kind of two different. It's stardom is really interesting in wrestling because you don't really understand why. You don't exactly why, maybe sort of why. Why is Sebastian Rivera a bigger star than Nick Piccinini? Is probably a great example. They both have iconic wins. Yeah. I don't know if it's Seabass's. Pitch is a more understated individual in interviews, and Sebastian's more of a showman, big talker, whereas Nick is less that way, right? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's a jersey thing. That could be a part of it. It's really interesting what makes some of these guys sick. Austin DeSanto is the most popular college wrestler. He is. he's also the most hated, but he is unquestionably probably the most popular.
People are so annoyed by the fact. I know. So you guys see all the numbers, and you guys can say that with a fair level of certainty. People are so annoyed by that fact. I will say I'm slightly annoyed, but I know it is the truth that he does better numbers than anybody.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just hate numbers. I think people really like him. So what were the arrived moments? I don't know what they are, and I don't know what makes him. But it's not always just a win, right? Like Bubba, for as great as he was, I don't feel like he took off until he beat David Taylor. Yeah. That guy was a junior world champ. He was in NCAA finals, but until he beat, it's like, wow, then it's Machine Gun Bubba and all this and that. So I don't know. I don't know what.
Well, but back at that time, Christian, I mean, you couldn't watch a lot of matches live. About the only matches you were going to watch live were NCAAs, so the only time you could become a star was, in fact, NCAAs. And now it's different. We can see all these other matches throughout the season. But that star quality, it is fairly hard to define.
Extremely. Dave Welko, when does Cowboy Wrestling get back on top of the wrestling world? Well, they're doing the things you would want to do if you want to get back on top with having really, really good recruiting classes.
Yeah.
So now they just need to develop really already very good wrestlers. And if they do that, there isn't an overwhelming dominant force in terms of what is known, right? It's like if there's unknown, and Penn State is thought to be, they're going to be the team for the future, probably just because Penn State, but it's not because we know exactly who's going to do that. Is it going to be a Michael Beard or a Carter Starocki? We think Carter Starocki is going to be really good, and we feel Robbie Howard and Bo Bartlett and these guys are going to have really good careers, but they have to realize it. So I would say, Oklahoma State, they've won national titles before. John Smith knows how to develop guys. They just have to do it with this crop.
Yes.
And they need to make their lineup fit. How does Ben Askren think Max Roscoff from NC State will do in his UFC debut this weekend?
I don't know who he's fighting, but I'm high on Max Roscoff. I really like him. I worked out with him a few times when I was visiting NC State back in the day. We always used to fly in there before going to Super 32, get a workout in their room. I always liked Max. I thought he was awesome. I'm excited that he's getting a shot. It's very early on in his career. I think he's only 7-0. He's probably only been fighting for 2 years. 5-0. So he's only been fighting for maybe 2 years. Yeah. So I hopefully he does really well.
What's his game in MMA? I know he has a decent jiu-jitsu background.
Yeah. So I haven't seen him fight because that's been all small stuff. But yeah, I mean, he was really he's a legger, scrambled a lot. So I think he actually did some jiu-jitsu while in college. So I think he probably took very, very easily and very well to it, as many wrestlers do. So the question would be, has he been able to develop his striking, and does his wrestling actually implement to MMA?
Who do you think emulates Kale's style the best? Asks Lyle Gray.
David.
Yeah, it is David, right?
Yeah, it's that one. I think that one's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know even who's been there. There's components of Kale that you see in the guys with their collar tie ability. I think Bo has a solid ankle pick, but they're all really different. And I think it's part of like the Penn State difference is that there's like little elements that they all pick from, but there's not an archetype, right?
And a lot of David's emulation of Kale's style came from David watching him as a youth wrestler and developing that skill in his own workouts. He didn't go to Penn State and then become like Kale Sanderson. He already was like that because he idolized him growing up. And compared to Ed Ruth, who like didn't even like know that much. There's an interview where Ed Ruth talks about like, I didn't really know how good Kale Sanderson was. Like I didn't. But so I think that was part of it. It wasn't like, he kind of grew up
emulating.
Yeah.
That's something that David makes mention of repeatedly. Is like, I watched this guy, saw what he did at NCAAs. I was like, I want to wrestle like that. So he really crafted a style that is the closest facsimile to Kale Sanderson we've seen. Okay. Okay, real last question. Hey, Ben Askren, will you take me to Culver's to get some custard next time I'm in Wisconsin?
I will not take you to Culver's because Culver's is, although it's made in Wisconsin, it is corporate. We have other local custard stands, which in my opinion are better, and that is where I'll take you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm getting The point is, I'm getting custard. Really,
you're getting custard. You are getting custard.
Where it's from, it doesn't matter. Just two guys enjoying some custard. What's not to love? All right. 9:44. Hey, 1 minute of free time. Thanks so much for listening. We're ready to go. Be sure to watch.
Dude.
We are Kale's first decade. What a decade it's been. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're really gonna like it. 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Check it out. It's going to be really, really good. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. If you like Bad Blood, I think you might even like this even more.
Taylor Swift's my favorite.
What? Did someone dare you to say
Bad
that?
Blood. Bad Blood. Taylor Swift. My kids,
yeah.
I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old girl, and they jam it all the time. They carry on the Alexa.
Love it. Yep. Sounds like... Oh,
I actually don't like Taylor Swift, Christian.
You love her. Whatever.
I do not.
Kyle Brackey loves Taylor Swift. Did you know that? Legitimately. Thanks, Taylor
That's
Swift.
embarrassing. Let's harass him.
We will. He'll be back, in July, allegedly, and we'll make fun of him then. Just don't forget.
Deal.
Hey, thanks, guys. Don't listen to Taylor Swift. Watch Flow Films. See you tomorrow. Thanks.